Pokemon FireRed and LeafGreen are some of the most popular games in the franchise, and to many people, the best way to experience Kanto. At the time, remakes of video games weren't necessarily rare, but this was Pokemon's first time doing it, and they had to recreate one of the best-selling games of all time. And you know what, if this remake ended up selling 4 million copies on the Switch in 2026, clearly there's something special here. With that being said, it's hard to tell how much of this success is just because of nostalgia versus it actually being a genuinely great game. We can't forget, this game takes place before a lot of the important quality of life changes that were implemented into Pokemon, so I wouldn't be surprised if things feel a little antiquated. But at the same time, there may be a sort of special charm to the gameplay as well. Either way, we're going to be playing through the entirety of Pokemon FireRed and LeafGreen to see whether or not they were actually good. The game begins in Pallet Town, and of course we try to leave immediately, but Professor Oak quickly stops us and tells us we need a Pokemon and takes us back to the lab. As great as all of the starters are in the first generation, I want this run to be a bit of a challenge, so I'll be picking Charmander. All three options are exceptionally powerful, but Charmander takes a bit longer to get going, so I'm hoping that encourages me to catch a new Pokemon I've never used before to fill the gap. Plus, I feel like the fire type options in Kanto just aren't as available as you might think. Anyway, we have our first battle with our rival Green. Yes, I know, I don't know why his canon name isn't Blue here, but whatever. Since he's the meanest rival of them all, he picks the starter we're weak to. Thankfully, we take care of him and actually get to explore Route 1 now. There's no Pokemon I'm interested in catching here, so let's quickly head into Viridian City and go to the Pokemart, and here we're asked to give this parcel back to Professor Oak. I'm actually a little conflicted on this portion of the game, cause I think it could have been a much more condensed tutorial where you learn battling and catching along the errand. Instead, there's this limbo where you have no Pokeballs, there's no trainers, and well, it just feels like a waste of time. Then you end up back at the lab to give the parcel and get the Pokédex, and now the game would actually begin. I don't know, it feels like if you got the Pokédex at the start and Pokeballs too before leaving, it would have made the pacing a bit better. Well anyway, let's get this journey started. Also, can I just say how nice it is to play these older games on my computer and be able to fast forward? Back in Viridian, we can actually go to the left here and find Green already ready to battle again. He managed to catch himself a Pidgey in addition to his Squirtle, and without any other Pokemon yet, we had to use a potion to beat him. But I mean, hey, you can't even blame me. I didn't do the awkward, slow catching tutorial from this old dude yet. Actually though, I do want to take this time to explain a little bit about my plans for team building. In previous runs through Kanto, I've used very textbook teams, like basically just all of the popular Pokemon like Lapras, Snorlax, Raichu, you know. But this time, I really want to explore new Pokemon I've never tried yet. Right now though, I'm really going to try and train up my Charmander because we're going to need to do a lot of grinding with other Pokemon I catch very soon. So, for the first gym, we're going to be at a type disadvantage, but luckily Viridian Forest is the prime training grounds for Charmander, which is honestly great game design since it doesn't leave Charmander players completely out of luck for the first gym. Also, Charmander learns Metal Claw, which is really his only hope to take down rock types. And so we make it through the forest and into Pewter City. While there is some cool stuff to see and even a nice museum, our main objective is that gym badge. Brock is a simple fight, only using 2 Pokemon being a Geodude and an Onix. In theory, this would be a hard fight, but in reality, we're able to train Charmander up to level 15, higher than both of his team members. It wasn't easy, but we won and even leveled up to 16, which means we already evolved into Charmeleon. Kinda sad how short Charmander's run was, but it's alright. With the new gym badge, we are allowed to run on into the next route. Like, literally, because we got the running shoes from a package our mom sent. Okay, well, it's time for our next party member. See, I wasn't lying. I decided to use Nidoran male, and no, I'm not sexist, it's just that the other option has a 1% encounter rate in FireRed. Besides, I think Nidoking is technically a bit better in terms of single player runs because it has high damage and speed. Going into Mount Moon, our main Pokemon will still be Charmeleon, but only because we need him to switch train Nidoran and get strong enough to deal at least some damage to Misty, who we'll take on soon. But in Mount Moon, we find that it has been raided by Team Rocket, a criminal organization who steals Pokemon. Deep in the cave, we also find 2 fossils and battle some dude over them, but we end up splitting them and we grab the Helix fossil. I have no plans to use the Pokemon that come out of it though, and alright, well that's pretty much it for the cave, and we can go into Cerulean City. In my opinion, this place is much more lively than the other places we've been, and we can actually go straight to the gym here. But I decided we really aren't strong enough yet, and instead I went to the Nugget Bridge. Or, well, we gotta battle Green first. He managed to get 4 Pokemon and even evolved his Pidgey into a Pidgeotto. Don't let this fool you though, once we take care of his Bird and Squirtle, Abra and Rattata are nothing more than mere investments for his team in the future. As for us, we have a Charmeleon and yes, a Nidorino now. Nidorino is going to absolutely be crucial for our team going forward, and it is ridiculously strong compared to the competition right now. After the fight, we have to cross the Nugget Bridge where there are a bunch of trainers. Actually, even after the bridge, there are a ton of battles up ahead, which is great to train for Misty. At the end of this route, we find a building with a talking Clefairy saying he's Bill. Somehow, this guy managed to put together a cell separation machine and put his consciousness into a Pokemon. Okay. Well, Bill is actually a very important person because he created the PC system and also will give us a very important item too, the SSN tickets. Now that we're super trained up, Misty's gym is next. Like Brock, she has two Pokemon, a Staryu and a Starmie. Honestly, with Nidorino, Staryu was not hard to take care of, but as for Starmie, I thought it would be worth a try to see if Charmeleon could set up a smokescreen and heal Nidorino real quick. And I think this was probably the right choice. We ended up critting with a Horn attack regardless, and with a little luck, we beat Misty, getting the second badge. Even though we won, I'm not exactly happy about how close it was. Anyway, we gotta head out of Cerulean now, and on the way out, we see Team Rocket has thrashed these guys home and stole the TM dig. So we avenge them and then continue south. We end up passing the Pokemon daycare, but we don't need it for any reason, so I just ignored it. Then when we see the way to the next city, it's actually blocked off because the guard is thirsty and won't let us through. Thankfully, there is an underground path that leads straight into the next city, Vermilion. This is a pretty small place, but it has a good amount of stuff to see. There's actually the Pokemon fan club where we get the bike voucher, which I'll go back to Cerulean to redeem later. There's naturally the next gym, but it's blocked off by a tree, meaning the only thing we could do now is go on the SSN, which we got tickets for earlier. There seems to have been some party or something here, but for us it serves as a great place to train up our two Pokemon. Since our party is still small, this will end up really getting us strong enough to destroy anyone for a while, I bet. I mean, we're already pretty over-leveled, so yeah. The other big part of the SSN is this fight with Green, and he says he's caught 40 kinds of Pokemon. I mean, surely he's lying, right? The dude doesn't even have a Pokemon higher level than 20. I mean, now that I think about it, I don't think it's even possible to encounter 40 kind of Pokemon yet. Alright, well, whatever. His team is functionally the same as last time, except now he has a Wartortle, Kadabra, and Raticate, 3 new evolutions. Even though he has trained up his team, a level 30 Nidorino is literally an unstoppable force. Defeating Green lets us into the captain's quarters, and he's feeling a little sick, so we rub his back, and in return he shows us his hidden cut technique. Alright, well, at least we can cut down that tree in the gym. I'll just catch a random Meowth or something to teach cut, and while I'm here, I'll pick up the bike from Cerulean. Okay, the Vermilion gym is notoriously annoying, not for the battles, but actually just for the trash can puzzle at the start. The battle with Lieutenant Surge isn't actually hard at all. Despite having 3 Pokemon, Voltorb, Pikachu, and Raichu, both of our Pokemon are level 30 and can barely be touched at all, so we ran through them in about 30 seconds. I'd say things will get more challenging soon, but I actually really doubt it. With the 3rd badge, our next stop is probably gonna take a bit to get to. Considering all of the guards in the Kanto region are thirsty, we have to do a detour back to Cerulean City and to the route on the right. This route is kinda huge, but it's mostly just easy battles until we reach the rock tunnel. Technically, you're supposed to use the move Flash to light up the tunnel, but instead, I'll just guess where to go. This is actually one of the longest dungeons in the game, if you can believe it. There's like 3 or 4 levels or something, despite not really being complicated to navigate once you know where you're going. The most annoying part, honestly, is getting through it without running back to the Pokemon Center, and not to mention all the wild encounters. While I was inside though, we did evolve Charmeleon into Charizard, and honestly, it does feel a little soon for this, but maybe not, I don't know. By the time I got to the end of the tunnel, my Pokemon were literally hanging on by a thread, and I had to make sure not to battle any of the 5 random trainers placed on the outside of this cave. And with that, we made it to Lavender Town, one of the most iconic places in all of gaming. This town certainly nails the creepy vibe, with the center point being the vertical cemetery of the Pokemon Tower. For some reason, Green is here, and I'll make this clear now, I do not believe the dead Raticate theory. Yeah, I said it. In my opinion, Green was probably just trying to catch a Ghastly or something since he's trying to complete the Pokédex. At this point, I also started to realize, is Green taking a different path than us? Because he has an Execute, and I have no clue how. Additionally, he caught a Growlithe and removed his Raticate, but besides this, his team is the same and incredibly low level compared to us. So we beat him with ease and climbed the Pokemon Tower. I'm not sure the logic behind being allowed to battle in an active cemetery though, but I guess I could look past that. The real issue here is the fact that when we reach the top, a mysterious ghost blocks the way and we cannot continue. So we just end up heading out of Lavender Town to the west. Once again, we have to take one of these underground paths to make it to the next city, which is Celadon. This is the location of the next gym battle, but now I want to get our 3rd party member. That's right, we're getting an Eevee. Now you may be wondering, which evolution will I choose? well, you'll have to stay tuned until, yeah, nah, I'm kidding, we're just gonna get Vaporeon now. This wasn't an easy choice, and I actually got a little unlucky with my nature since it was given a nature that lowers your special attack, so I chose Vaporeon due to how good it is already at being tanky. Primarily, it'll be used to take hits, but it should still hit hard at its peak despite the nature. Right now though, it is kinda horrible. What shouldn't be a hard choice though is hitting that subscribe button, because we are so close to 10,000 subscribers, and if we work together, this would be the video to do it. So I'd love it if you subscribed, as it's the best way to support me and allow me to continue posting these super long videos. Anyway, we don't need Vaporeon's help for a while, as the next gym leader, Erica, is a grass type trainer, so yeah, our level 39 Charizard laughed at the face of the level 20 something Pokemon she sent our way. Celadon City has so much more than just this gym though. With the department store and game corner, you can spend so much time here. Let's just say, maybe don't even start doing the slots or else you might not leave. I kinda understand why Pokemon games don't have game corners anymore. This thing is addicting. We do have real business here though, and that's to take on Team Rocket, who has managed to hide their base underneath the game corner. This dungeon really isn't all that complicated, and there aren't that many trainers compared to a dungeon we'll be taking on very soon. The highlight here is probably the huge sliding puzzle, which I have memorized at this point like the back of my hand. All we have to do to finish this dungeon is make it to the end and get access to this elevator, which takes us to Giovanni's quarters, who is the leader of Team Rocket. His team is decent, and he has an Onix, Rhyhorn, and Kangaskhan. We really didn't struggle with the first two, but Kangaskhan is quite strong in general and managed to take out our Nidorino. This isn't the last we'll be seeing of Giovanni though, so I'm not surprised this fight is on the easier side. Anyway, we get the Sylph Scope from him, which will allow us to finally scale the Pokemon Tower and identify the ghost blocking the way. In lore, this ghost is Marowak, the mother of a Cubone who passed away protecting her baby from Team Rocket. In the game, they really don't delve too much into this, but as I saw in my Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu run, they definitely make it a main plotline in that game. Anyway, we avenge Marowak and speak to Mr. Fuji at the top of the tower, who gives us the Pokeflute. In two parts of the region, there are Snorlaxes, or is it Snorlax, that are blocking the way, and if we play the flute next to them, they'll wake up and we can battle them. In most playthroughs, I end up using them because Snorlax is incredibly powerful, but this time, I'll just give you a hint that we'll have another powerful normal type joining us. Well, now the region of Kanto has pretty much completely opened up, so I decided to head west of Celadon and down through Cycling Road. At the end of this, we get to Fuchsia City, and this is gonna be a very important place for us. Not only is there a gym, but the Safari Zone is going to be where we get the HM Surf. At the end of the zone, there's this house and some guy will give you the HM, and until this playthrough, I would always forget you had to do this. I know most old games can get a little confusing sometimes when they only give you one text box telling you where to go, so don't feel bad if you also got lost here looking for Surf. There's also another HM in Fuchsia when you give the gold teeth to the Safari Zone Warden and you get Strength. I will always be a hater of HMs though, I don't care. Especially in these games where changing your moves is just way more tedious and inaccessible, plus TMs are single use too. As much as I hate HMs though, at the very least they are decent moves in battle. Actually, we really needed it for Vaporeon because with Surf, it is genuinely able to battle instead of just being a punching bag. Okay, now let's take on the gym leader, Koga. He is a poison type trainer and his team is Coughing, Muck, Coughing again, and Wheezing. I mean, why does he have two Coughings as if there aren't a million poison types in this game? Well, with our Vaporeon knowing Surf, it's able to take down Koga's entire team with relative ease, and I'm very thankful for that. Now, we have one last stop on the mainland of Kanto before we explore the sea, Saffron City. This is a giant city with quite a bit of stuff. The main objective right now is actually to head into the Sylphco building and save everyone from Team Rocket. It seems like the police force is just useless or something because literally no one is helping besides us. This is the biggest dungeon in the entire game, and yeah, it definitely feels like it. It's literally just an office building, but because of the teleporters and the dozens of trainers and the fact that it's like 11 floors or something, I forget. Knowing just how many trainers were here though, I figured it would be a good time to build our team up some more. After all, our Pokemon are already leveled properly, and it would be really annoying to have to train up 3 more Pokemon without getting some grinding done here. It's not like the game is over or anything, but we're getting into the latter half for sure. I actually went back to the Safari Zone and searched for our next team member, Kangaskhan. While not technically better than Snorlax, like at all actually, except for speed, she still is super strong and more than capable of taking on the rest of the adventure with us. Also, her back sprite is so cute with the baby peeking out of her pocket. Okay, that's not all for our team though. We gotta go to the Karate Dojo in Saffron next and defeat these trainers to get access to Hitmonlee. I don't think I've even ever thought of using this Pokemon before, but its attack stat is one of the strongest in the game actually, so it's surprisingly good. But if you thought that was it, we still have one more place to go to get our final team member, and looking at our roster, I realized we needed an electric type badly. Then I remembered we hadn't gone to the Kanto power plant yet. Obviously, we could just get Zapdos here, but I have a no legendaries policy for this run, so instead I was stuck between Electabuzz and Magneton. Both are quite good, and while Magneton is technically better, I've never used Electabuzz in any of my playthroughs, so we ended up going with them. And with our full roster complete, we are ready to take on the Silphco building. If you know what you're doing, you can rush through this place in just a few minutes, but I did want to trade up my team, so I spent a while here. Thankfully for you, you don't have to sit with me grinding the whole time, and we can get straight to the fun bit. First of which is our next battle with Green, and it has been quite a while, hasn't it? His team is kinda strong now. He has a Pidgeot, Growlithe, Execute, Alakazam, and Blastoise. Unfortunately for him, I did not need to take this fight seriously at all, and I used it as nothing more than a training ground for the easy levels on my Pokemon. And so we can go on ahead and meet Giovanni once again. His team has improved a lot, now with a Nidorino, a Nidoqueen, a Kangaskhan, and a Rhyhorn. It's kinda funny though, because our Nidorino was able to take care of both his and Kangaskhan. Then Hitmonlee took out Rhyhorn, and Vaporeon finished the job on Nidoqueen. You know, at this point in the game, I started to think, like, is Fire Red sneakily one of the easiest Pokemon games? Like, Let's Go is genuinely harder than this game at this point. Well, we speak to the president of Silphco, and he gives us the Master Ball for rescuing him. Our final objective in Saffron City is taking on the gym leader Sabrina, but in truth, the real challenge was navigating this damn teleporter room. This actually took so long, I'm not kidding. Sabrina uses Psychic types, which are notoriously powerful in Gen 1, but this isn't Gen 1, technically, is it? She has a Kadabra, Mr. Mime, Venomoth for God knows what reason, and Alakazam. I was still using this fight as an opportunity to train my newer Pokemon, and also grind my Kangaskhan's friendship since I taught it Return. I didn't know this, but Return actually changes its animation based on your friendship with it, and I think that's pretty cool. Well, yeah, it literally destroyed all our team, so that wasn't much of a challenge at all. I didn't even need Dark-type moves. With Sabrina out the way, we do need to train up the rest of our team, specifically Electabuzz and Hitmonlee. Luckily, there's a whole area of the game we can explore to train up Electabuzz against water types. The Seafoam Caves and the route to it are basically completely optional, but I'm glad they're here. There's not really much for me to talk about though, so let's just fast forward to the next part of the game. If you remember, there's water at the bottom of Pallet Town, so if we fly back and surf across it, we end up at Cinnabar Island. Despite how tiny this town is, there's actually a good amount of content. There's this laboratory here, which we can submit our fossil that we got in Mount Moon, but there's also this abandoned mansion, which is a giant dungeon. The wild encounters seem to really get out of hand here. I'm not sure if FireRed had higher than usual rates, but geez, it was annoying. Someone in the comments just let me know if I was getting unlucky or something, or if Gen 3 has higher rates. Anyway, the gimmick of the Pokemon Mansion is that these Mewtwo statues open and close sections of the lab. While going through, we can read memos detailing the story of Mew and Mewtwo. Eventually, you make it to the secret hidden bottom of the mansion where the lab where Mewtwo was created is. This sort of feels like a very baby version of the True Lab in Undertale, if anyone knows that, which makes me think that this Pokemon Mansion might have inspired that area. For some reason, the key to open the locked gym is also in the mansion, so we retrieve that and head on into the 7th gym. I'm gonna be so honest though, a fire-type gym at this point in the game is such a wash. I mean, dude, Vaporeon just erases everything with Surf. In my opinion, they should have placed Blaine a little earlier in the game where you had to plan around not having as many water types. I mean, individually his Pokemon are not really that bad. He has a Growlithe, Ponyta, Rapidash, and Arcanine, but they're all weak to the same thing, so yeah. We got our 7th badge in just a few seconds. But then when we leave the gym, we actually get interrupted by Bill asking us to come with him to the Sevi Islands. This is a brand new location exclusive to FireRed and LeafGreen, and we meet with a man named Celio who is trying to connect his computer system to Bill's PC. Bill then asks us to take this meteorite to some dude on 2 Island, so that's where we go next. We find a man at the game corner on this island, but he seems to have lost his daughter Lestelle. He says we have to go find her on 3 Island, and I'm not sure how some little girl manages to get that far away, but alright. So we traverse the entire island and find her in a forest being kidnapped by some perverted hypno, and I don't think this could have ever existed in a modern game. Well, we save her from that thing and take her back to her father, also giving him that meteorite in exchange for a moonstone. Going back to Bill, he says he's done with whatever he's doing, and Celio says he'll show us around sometime. Side quest over, it's time for the 8th and final gym, and it's all the way back in Viridian City. But before this, let's evolve our Nidorino into a Nidoking finally with that moonstone we just got, and now our team is complete. The gym leader of Viridian is unknown to the public, but we know him quite well. It's Giovanni. He has 2 Rhyhorns, Dugtrio, Nidoqueen, and Nidoking. This is a solid team, I'll give him that. He caught me off guard when I used Dig with Nidoking, and his Nidoqueen Nidoqueen actually used Earthquake, the hard counter to dig. Besides that though, I had Vaporeon, which basically one-shots every one of his Pokemon. I'll tell you this now, Vaporeon is only just getting started being the MVP of this team. But yes, we defeat Giovanni for good and get our 8th gym badge, finally ready for the Pokemon League. As one final test before the league though, Green decides to challenge us. His team is identical to last time, but now he has a Rhyhorn. I'm not sure why he doesn't have a Rhydon though, considering he's level 45 and it evolves at 42, but who am I to question Blue's team building? All things considered, this battle was a bit harder than the previous fights with him, but only just barely because I was still cocky from how easy this game was. And oh boy, please stay tuned because I will soon regret that mentality. Sadly, this game has a victory road, and I say sadly because I don't like these end of game dungeons since I'm mentally prepared to take on the Elite Four already. This isn't like a criticism or anything, just a personal dislike of the experience, I guess. But well, I do wish this victory road also had some trainers with more EXP because I did not know how incredibly underleveled I would become here. The first Elite Four member is Lorelei, and she is an Ice type trainer. But maybe I should say Ice type in quotes because she's basically a Water type trainer too. She has a Dugong, Cloyster, Slowbro, Jinx, and Lapras. And let's just say when I saw the level 52 Dugong as her first Pokemon, I knew I was cooked. She was just really annoying to fight too, putting me to sleep and using Confuse Ray. Like, the power jump here was insane. Her Lapras basically decimated my entire team one by one until her Jinx dealt the final blow. Okay, Elite Four attempt number 1 failed. This time I tried to be a lot smarter, but it's just so hard dealing with her team when my Electabuzz is that low of a level. The only way I was able to beat her was just chipping her down until my last Pokemon was Charizard, and I was able to beat the Jinx. But dude, I forgot to buy enough items, and I've already used most of my revives. I may be cooked. Next is Bruno, and he's a fighting type trainer. He has an Onix, Hitmonchan, Hitmonlee, Onix again, and a Machamp. Like, why does he not have a Primeape? I don't get it. I was definitely more confident in this battle. That was until Hitmonchan used Rock Tomb on my Charizard and erased me from existence. I suppose this fight was technically easier, but the end result was the same. We used everything to beat him, and my items were essentially tapped out. We still have 3 fights to go. Agatha was next, and she uses ghost types. Or, well, actually she uses all poison types technically, and I don't know why she's considered a ghost trainer, but hey, I can't even question this anymore. She has a Gengar, Golbat, Haunter, Arbok, and Gengar again. Thank goodness this fight was significantly easier to deal with, and we didn't even lose any party members here, so there may be hope for this run. Now, the last Elite Four member, Lance, and he uses Dragon types. His team is Gyarados, 2 Dragonairs, Aerodactyl, and Dragonite. Yeah, this looks pretty scary at first, but remember, our Vaporeon is our strongest party member and has Aurora Beam and Ice type move. Because of this, we were able to destroy most of Lance's team until Dragonite hit us with a Hyper Beam. Honestly, he put up a great last stand against us, but I was able to revive Vaporeon and win the battle. Now finally, we're going into the last fight against Green, but we're down our Electabuzz with no revives left. He has a Pidgeot, Alakazam, Rhydon, Arcanine, Executor, and Blastoise. We started off with Vaporeon and took out his Pidgeot. Next was Executor, and with Charizard, we 2-shot it. Then he had Blastoise, and without an Electabuzz, I was very scared. I tried using Kangaskhan, but the damage I was doing was close to none, and it erased me. I tried a new technique here to heal my Vaporeon, baiting a water type move with Nidoking and then swapping 2 Vaporeon to proc Water Absorb. But even then I had to get crafty. I had Nidoking Earthquake and just prayed for a crit, and I got it. This run was not over. He had his Alakazam come out, but then I realized I was down to just Charizard and Vaporeon, neither at full HP. Alakazam took out our Charizard, and well, Vaporeon missed Hydro Pump, and we lost. A heartbreaker. The next run I would do would literally be all or nothing. I spent all of my money remaining on items, and if I didn't win here, I would be forced to grind for hours. The first fight didn't go amazing, but definitely better than last time. But then Bruno did something I didn't expect. He made me rage quit. Yeah, I stopped playing for a day at this point because I was genuinely getting annoyed at how strong these guys were. But it wasn't over. I came back the next day and fought hard to make it back to where I lost it all. Back at Green, I had my full team, and with only a handful of items left, I had to make a miracle happen. But for some reason, I felt good about this. This was all or nothing. With Electabuzz, I was able to take out Pidgeot with 2 Thunderbolts. Then his Blastoise, Rhydon was one-shot by Vaporeon. Then Exeggutor was handled easily by Charizard, although it did set up Light Screen. He had his Blastoise come out, and it was faster than Electabuzz and won that duel, and I started to get a little nervous. Kangaskhan once again came out to put a lot of damage into Blastoise, but a Hydro Pump once again took it out. But then it was time for the Vaporeon Blastoise bite off, and I landed 2 critical hits. We only had 4 Pokemon left, and his next was Alakazam. Knowing he would definitely use Future Sight, I took the chance to get a bite off. Sadly, another one didn't finish the job, and he used the full restore. I kept trying though, and Vaporeon got the job done, and I healed up. Arcanine would be no issue for Vaporeon, and would end up burning his last full restores on it in a meaningless struggle. We did it. We beat Green. This was perhaps the most satisfying victory in all of my Pokemon runs. Holy crap. Well, we're the champions now. But this is actually only the beginning to our journey in a way, because we technically cannot start the post game until we catch 60 Pokemon. And well, I have about 15 now, so I have quite the ways to go. I basically just went through every area of the game, but I had to be pretty strategic about it because I didn't have much money left to spend on balls. I ended up using a lot of different methods to get Pokemon in my decks, like doing the NPC trades, going to the Safari Zone, and it wasn't as boring as I thought it would be. But realistically, that's because I have the ability to fast forward my game. If I had to go through each of these wild encounter animations over and over again in regular speed, this would have taken so much longer. But we eventually get the 60 Pokemon and get our national dex from Professor Oak, letting us unlock the story for the Sevi Islands. So basically, Celio is trying to get his system thing upgraded, and he needs a ruby from Mount Ember. So we head there and find that it is being raided by Team Rocket, who have yet to hear the news of their disbandment, I guess. This really isn't that crazy of a dungeon, and the main thing here is that you need to, how do I say this? Read Braille. Well, this is a Gen 3 game after all. Fortunately, I can read Braille fluently and definitely didn't look up the translations online. Well, we found the rubies, so we can just head back to Celio now. Turns out he, forgot to tell us that there was also a sapphire we had to get to run the machine. Oh, of course. Now, we make our way to 4 Island, where they play gold and silver music unexpectedly, and this definitely took me by surprise, in terms of good surprise, because I actually did love this song. Also, I've never played through the Sevi Islands before, so that was cool. But we make our way to the Icefall Cave, although we do need to use the HM waterfall here to progress the story, so once we get it, I use some random seal I found to use the move. Up ahead, we actually run into Lorelei here, who is taking on the Team Rocket grunts that are left around since, I guess, they disbanded and didn't tell the rest of them. We also learn that Team Rocket is operating out of their warehouse on 5 Island, which is our next stop. Sadly, when we make it there, we need 2 passwords to enter it. We only managed to get 1 though, from an earlier grunt, so we're gonna move on to the next island. 6 Island is one of the bigger ones, and we have quite a little bit until we reach the Dotted Hole. Now, based on the name, you could probably guess that Braille is making a comeback. Even to open the door to this cave, we have to read Braille that says cut, and we use the move in front of the door. Inside, there are a couple puzzles where we have to fall down a hole that the Braille says to, but ultimately we find the sapphire. That is until it's stolen by some guy working for Team Rocket. Luckily, he told us the second password for some reason, and so we follow him back. The Rocket Warehouse is a mini dungeon where we have to traverse these sliding things again, and it is a bit more complicated this time. At the end, one of the grunts actually tells us we should heal up because the next fight is going to be difficult. Kinda random that they would say this, but I took her advice. In truth, this battle was incredibly easy, but a cool Easter egg here is that the Team Rocket admin responsible for all this mess is actually Archer from the Gen 2 games, since he said that he would resurrect Team Rocket and his team is identical. Well, we take the sapphire back from the scientist and head back to Celio, and thank goodness his machine finally works. It looks like he was trying to connect it to the Hoenn region, and you know what? Good for him. The other islands have a few side things to do, and there's also a battle tower, which is in like every Pokemon game, so I don't have to explain that. There's only one thing left for us to do story-wise in Fire Red now. It's Cerulean Cave. This is a pretty interesting dungeon to navigate with strong Pokemon inside it, but at the center is the true strongest, Mewtwo. Yeah, I'm just gonna Master Ball it. I spent all my money on Pokeballs completing the Pokédex, and well, that's it. After completing Fire Red and Leaf Green, I could say I had a great time. You know, this is one of those games that you could just pick up whenever you're bored or in between games and always have a little fun. It's not going to be the most engaging thing ever. I mean, it's definitely as simple as you can get in a Pokemon experience, and that's just how Kanto is. Fire Red is the definition of John Pokemon, and that's not a bad thing, but let's look into the specifics to see what I mean. The gameplay itself is obviously the most important part of the game for a lot of people, and I'm honestly sort of neutral on it. It's not that fair to critique it from the standpoint we have today, so I'll try to imagine it back back then. Even though it's missing a lot of the pace, balancing, and general quality of life that we have now, I don't think I ever did notice it when I was a kid. Obviously, this is purely going off of vibes, but nothing in this game was deliberately slow or annoying. I guess my biggest issue is the beginning of the game where you don't have running shoes or rappels, so you do really waste a lot of time, but once you do get those, the problems go away. The balancing of the game is something I don't love because for a large majority of it, it's just way too easy. If it was consistently easy or hard throughout, I wouldn't mind, but it's weird. I don't know how to explain it. Certain games have this issue in the franchise, specifically X and Y and BDSP and Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. The challenge feels like it doesn't start until the very end at the Elite Four, and at that point, it all hits at once. I'm not sure if I'm the only one who's noticed this, but just compare it to a game like Emerald or the Gen 5 games, which are consistently difficult throughout the entire experience. It just doesn't feel nice, and it really tilted me at the end because I wasn't expecting such a monumental task at the end of the game. With those games I just mentioned, every gym for the most part felt like a stepping stone to the final boss, and I loved that feeling. Also, the team building in FireRed just doesn't really make that much sense all the time. I did specifically mention during the video when the team building was stupid, so I won't bring it up again much, but you know. Maturing is realizing the more Pokemon added to the games, the better probably. This sort of conflicts with my love for Pokemon Black and White, but I think that at that point the balancing for the games was nicely set up and they knew how to make the gym leaders teams make sense. This could be a hot take, but I like the idea of gym leaders having a diverse roster, and even for FireRed, they didn't need to take Pokemon from other regions. I just think they had to think a little bit more about why some Pokemon would or wouldn't make sense on these teams. Gym leaders really should not have duplicate Pokemon, and this goes for Elite Four members or whoever, with the exception of maybe Lance or Agatha, because Dragons and Ghosts had a singular evolution line in Kanto, which is also a whole criticism of Kanto itself. I know I just dogged on a lot of the gameplay, but honestly, it is mostly fun. I was just a little annoyed with some aspects of it. I don't even want to touch on the HM discussion now because you'll literally never hear the end of it when we do play Emerald. Just know it was not that bad, but still annoying sometimes in FireRed. Now, the region design. I have always loved Kanto. I thought it was really cohesive of a region, even though it was the first, although I have one big issue with it. Everything feels samey. I feel like all of the rural towns feel similar or lacking in landmarks except for Lavender Town, and then the urban cities have the same issue. They just don't have unique color palettes or theming like a lot of the future cities in Pokemon would have. Can't say this is the biggest issue ever, but still something I wanted to mention. And for the music, it's nothing but iconic. Sure, it's not the most insane or diverse selection of music, and it sort of just lands on standard good video game music, but hey, good is good. Considering how bad the GBA speakers are, they did a fantastic job with these remastered tracks. In these older games, I don't even know how much it's worth talking about the characters. Like, there's not much to go off of. Your rival is mean, Giovanni is an evil guy, the gym leaders are nice but confident. Really, there's not enough dialogue in Kanto to base a real opinion off of. This is and always has been a battle-focused entry in Pokemon. That being said, of course I wish there was a bigger focus on characters and different personalities. On the bright side, the visuals of the game look great and are genuinely timeless. I never thought at any point that this game looked or aged badly. I feel like the overall consensus of my analysis has just been, yeah, I mean, it's good. Maybe it's missing some stuff that would have been nice, but I really don't blame them for not having it. And yeah, I would love to say I loved this game, man, it was amazing, or I hated it, it was the worst game I ever played, but my genuine feelings are so neutrally positive. Yeah, it's good. I never rate the games I play by number, but this is the definition of a 7 out of 10. And so, was Pokemon FireRed and LeafGreen actually good? Yeah, just not the top tier of games or anything. A solid entry you could go back to over and over, and probably the best game to start the series with if you want an authentic experience of what Pokemon used to be. I'm glad I was able to fully dive into this game with a video this long, since last time I didn't really do it justice. So next, I'd like to return to one of the most famous games in the franchise that many consider the greatest Pokemon game of all time, Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver. Thanks for watching this far in the video. If you liked it, I have channel memberships where you can watch my videos early and get exclusive content while supporting me. Thanks for watching.